You are listening to the X Podcast, and I am here with two of my favorite people, Kevin Illich. Just a reminder, if you are new to the podcast, he is the original brainchild that started it. He's the reason we're doing it. And we had him on, I think, back again a few months ago with Tim, and just catching up on all things in his life, and was, I think, one of the best conversations we've had this year. Had a lot of people text in, email about it. And related, and I'll explain that in a minute, I have first-time guest, Mr. Andrew Schultz. How are you?
Good to see you, man.
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. Russ was saying earlier, it's been 2 years probably since we officially caught up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the last time I saw Andrew was one of the first times I tried to travel at the tail end of COVID. And I got there, found out that my family that was going to host me, I was going to stay with, had COVID. So, do you remember this? And then you had just gotten over COVID, so you offered for me to stay with you. And then I had to test and all this stuff before going back. That was not fun times.
It feels like forever ago. It's crazy how kind of big that was, and then also how fast it's kind of gone away. Yeah. Not in like, not everywhere, but obviously just like, it just seems like it was so long ago.
Andrew, for the benefit of our listeners, I want to know how you and Russ know each other from your perspective.
I mean, Russ probably has a lot of funny stories. So Russ basically was my youth pastor. When did you come to New Life? Was it 2015?
January 2014.
Wow. So Russ has known me probably since I was 14. So a very kind of crazy teenager to, I guess what you would call me today. But yeah, Russ came in to New Life, and we had like a few, and New Life was the church we both went to in Georgia, but we had a few pastors prior to him, and Russ was probably, and no offense to anyone else in the office, but Russ was probably one of the first cool pastors we had at the church.
Not cool.
He got really into, Russ. The one thing I'll always give credit to Russ is Russ definitely elevated just things to go to restaurants for. Like, he would always find cool restaurants. But then the cool thing with Russ is he was really good at just, delegating and building teams. So he had this, I wish I could see like a day of the youth, like a Wednesday night again, because it was crazy how big and special it got for the limited resources we had. You would compare our youth nights to like a Passion City, and like we might not have all the crazy light equipment, but like the feeling, the energy, everything was there. So to see someone come in and do that with so little, and then also just be a cool dude to hang out with, didn't make a lot of sense for like 15, 16, 17-year-old me, but it was really cool to see just a different side of, I guess, ministry, if that makes sense.
So you guys have known each other for a while, right?
It's been yeah. I mean, I guess almost a decade.
That's crazy. So a lot has changed, Andrew. A lot has changed. You're all grown up now and killing it and doing some amazing things. So why don't you just give us an intro, who you are now, what you're into.
This is always a tough part. So right now I run a marketing agency in Alpharetta. It's called Right Customer. We work with a lot of people in real estate, and then also a lot of online influencers. Last time we counted, I think all of our clients have a combined 20 million following on Instagram alone. So I work with a lot of really big people there. We spend and manage about $1.5 million a month in ad spend. So we do Facebook ads, YouTube ads, TikTok ads. And then we also have a full creative department. So my first passion was design, and you can only get so far just doing design. So that's why we kind of pivoted into advertising. And from there, we've kind of in this real estate and then online education space, we've kind of hedged ourselves as one of like the top agencies in the country for that, especially because the creative will literally fly out to clients to produce content with them.
One of the things that I was excited about of having you on there is because we talk a lot about the overlap of the faith space and the creative space, the entrepreneurial space and the faith space. And, Kevin's been sharing his journey over the past year of, everything real estate and just, especially since COVID and the last 3 years, the opportunities that are out there for anybody that's willing to bring work ethic and innovation to really creating a different kind of future, a new kind of life. And so I'm curious for you, like, what have you learned and what tools have you brought over the last 10 years to literally, you've created a whole new life. I remember when you talked about as a 16-year-old kid, you're like, I'm going to hustle and build websites. And so, yeah, what's kind of brought you to where you are now?
So, the honest answer is by accident. The original plan was to do the college route. I was going to go be a nuclear engineer. I was in my high school class, I was like number 21 out of 500. So I was set to go to UGA, and my junior year of high school, or going into it, I ended up not technically dropping out, but I did the online school thing, which to me, that was basically dropping out because I knew I'd never do a class again a day. And really, it was just, I had a really clear picture of what my family's financial situation was. And I realized for me, taking 150 grand out in debt is not going to put me anywhere. And then also just by the end of high school, I'm going to have to probably just not go to college and work anyway. So I might as well just get a head start now. So that's kind of the approach I took. And, when I started, we moved to Arizona in 2017. Because of that, couldn't get a job at McDonald's, Starbucks, because I didn't have a diploma, which is crazy to me, by the way. But that's just how it is. So I started doing design again, and I sucked. I sucked at the design I was trying to do. And I kind of like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, but I just kept at it, and I got a little better. And I think probably 3 months into living in Arizona, I saw like a LinkedIn post for a social media post guy for a real estate company. Completely lied on the application, got the job, did great. So it all worked out. Became friends with the guy who ran that company. Turns out his dad is the number one agent and broker in Vegas. They sell luxury homes. So we started partnering a lot more on, doing real estate stuff for other people. And then we met this guy named Ryan Pineda, who, if you know who he is, he has several million followers on Instagram, social media, everything, and started working with him. So I was responsible for a lot of his early work. And, like a lot of big real estate investors, they're not the easiest to work with from a creative standpoint because their brain is very analytically wired, whereas creative people are very emotional, passionate. So the agency relationship with them didn't work out at the time, but I always liked Ryan. So fast forward, when I moved back to Atlanta, first thing I do is I hit up Ryan. Hey, I'll do whatever you want. Just let me get back in the groove. So I started doing thumbnails for him, social media posts, like video editing, just everything under the sun. But what I learned from Arizona is once I'm in the door, I can start pitching other things. I just have to get in the door. So when I got in the door with Ryan, I'm like, hey, this website sucks. Let me redo it real quick. Wasn't even thinking about money. I just knew if I brought him some value, eventually the money will come. Fast forward 2021, we redid all of his websites. So we got some traction. And what I learned is doing a bunch of websites, it takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and you don't really make a lot of money. So I realized I needed to pivot into marketing. So there was an agency here in Atlanta that was running ads for a bunch of Christian clothing brands called God is Dope, He Would Love First. In the space, you probably heard of them. So what I did is I just showed up at work for free. I said, hey, I'm going to work for free. I'm going to learn ads. I'll work here 15 hours a day. The guy who owned it thought it was hilarious, thought I was a crazy kid, said, sure. So I literally, from that day forward, was going to that office 6 days a week, 15 hours a day. And just learning. Pretty much what happened is the owner completely stepped out of the company, and I started running ads for God is Dope, managing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in spends. And after that relationship, the agency I was working with went under. I actually absorbed those clients, and it kind of was my first start at the agency. This time frame is about 2021 of fall, and kind of did that for a bit. Then in January 2022, I really decided I'm tired of working like 17-hour days, kind of just living in the cyclical arena of just like wake up, work, sleep, wake up, work, sleep. So I decided I need to get a lot smarter. And that's where I made the big jump into real estate. So I went up to Ryan and I said, hey man, look, I will take a big pay cut if you let me run your ads. Because I knew like that was the ticket to getting out of the grind. Because with like e-commerce and clothing brands, it's really hard to be profitable because there's so much cost associated. We would make $1 million and keep $70,000 of it. So it was really hard to make it work at scale. Whereas real estate, one transaction, can really pay for your marketing 3, 4, 5, 6-fold. So especially on the investing side and in 2021 and 2022, great time. So, Ryan agreed to it. Within probably 4 months, we were doing about $1 million cash every month from the ads. And I started pitching like crazy. So we grew the agency from the first employee in June of 2022 to today we have 27 people, and we work with around 15 to 20 clients on average, and then between that spend about 1.5 a month.
I'm a nerd, so I got to stop you there. I want to know more about this because Ryan's a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And so I'm probably a victim of one of your many ads you've done with him in a good way. But so when you say profit, were you running ads for his wholesale company?
So we did everything.
Where was the profit coming from? Was it coaching? Was it wholesale?
A little bit of both. So I mean, obviously in 2022, it was a really good time for any sort of fix and flip operation because you had iBuyers because interest rates are low, so you could sell for a lot more. So we would probably do a little bit of like pay-per-click Google for them, but really and this is where I learned a lot about just general marketing. Most of their sales came from cold calling. And that's what I realized, just that's another advantage of, a business like this over e-commerce, because you can create a human connection really fast. Whereas, with e-commerce, it's just transactional. But then the coaching as well. The coaching is what we scaled to $1 million cash within a few months.
There we go.
And we started doing events. I think the last event I did, we had 1,000 people in the Mirage in Las Vegas, which was really.
So you're still running event ads for him?
No, so we stopped working with Ryan's internal team in March. Just Ryan and I are still really good friends. We're still really good friends on the team. Just as the agency grew, kind of the deal structure we had with them didn't make as much sense as, the business side of it didn't make sense anymore. And they got so big, I encouraged them to get an internal team. Once you're that big, it's cheaper to just hire in-house, build culture, get people to buy into the vision versus an agency who can only deliver on work.
It's amazing, dude. It's not a small thing you've built, and just by putting yourself out there. And just a reminder, I mean, what are you, 23 years old?
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. I mean, a huge accomplishment. So it speaks to a lot of hard work and dedication and like I said, risk taking, putting yourself out there. You have a team of 27 people. I mean, that's really incredible. If you could, for me, I want to hear more about that first year. Now, if we can center this conversation around entrepreneurship in general, people say it, the first year weeds out a lot of people. It is really hard to start a business. And you say that, but then when you go through the actuality of it, taking it step by step, there's one thing to say it, it's another thing to go through it. And when you're hustling every single day in order to just make enough money to keep the engine running, it's a tough thing. So if you could, I think it'd be helpful for the people who listen to this show, and maybe they're thinking about starting a business, maybe they're hesitant to take the leap, maybe they're in the thick of that first year, maybe if it's more the first year, first couple years, in the thick of that grind mode. I mean, can you, one, explain your first year, what it was like, and when did it start to go, oh my gosh, this is actually working. I'm actually able to breathe. I'm actually able to put some money in my pocket. I mean, how has that been for you?
The first year was definitely interesting, especially going from being a freelancer who's doing pretty well. The biggest thing I learned is I thought in my head, if I hire someone, it's going to solve all the problems. And what I realized is if you hire someone and you don't actually solve your problem as a leader, it's just not going to work. So we went through a lot
Just
of
another
turnover.
responsibility. Yeah.
Right. You have to really look at yourself, and you have to be. You would always say like, "Well, I'm not selfish because I pay these people," but just even little stuff like one-on-ones, having a consistent pulse, being able to give bad news, tough conversations. I didn't realize how important those were until I kept turning people over, and I realized like, okay, we're doing the same thing but getting the same result. And that for me cost not just a lot of money, but just a lot of frustration because I kept throwing all my efforts at like process and task and process, but it was really a people component. And that was the most frustrating. Just, what I would do is I would let things slide and then have like moments where we have like a big tough talk. Now it's like, okay, when we have a moment, let's just have multiple tough talks every week and then just have like more of a coaching regimen versus, trying to have like this big blow up. So I think
Right.
it was definitely way easier than I thought it would be realistically, as long as you reasonably make the right choices. Like, if in that first year you're not going to go buy like a crazy car or a house, you know, it's relatively easy and it doesn't get easier, but you get better. So
Mhm.
like there'd be months where we have low income and I'm much more mentally strong now to be okay, like let's go see what we can do to fix this. And it really does sharpen that mindset. But yeah, I think the first year, the biggest challenge I had, and I see a lot of people, is not just learning how to delegate tasks, but actually how to lead people. Because once you're past that year mark, people are like, okay, like what is this thing going to be? Like we've been doing tasks for a year, but is this going to be a bigger company? Is this going to be something that I can work for a long time, or what it's going to be? So you really have to have that foresight. And like I used to think vision and stuff was stupid until like in a company setting, until my own employees were asking that question, like where do you see this long term? And I'm like, huh, like maybe I do need to think bigger than just what's like on the plate today. Yeah, I mean that was the biggest. And but with anything, it's like if you keep doing it, you're gonna get better. I think just most people give up in the first few months, and I think they rob themselves of an opportunity to at least really achieve something great.
Let's talk about that. 'Cause that's failure, right? And I think that's been one of the one of the best teachers, I think, as I've started my business, is going, how do I get better with this relationship with failure? And so, can you maybe just get real practical and describe early on, man, this was a tough thing, tough pill to swallow, where I failed and I had to get back up on my feet, and maybe some of the lessons you learned on the backside of that.
I'm hesitant with this word coach, but you just have to have someone who's going to be really honest with you and
Mhm.
let you know if you're being emotional or objective. What I used to happen is I would get, and a lot of people my age too, they get very emotional and very personally attacked when something goes wrong. So like if a client fired us, I'd be like, well, the client did something bad. And I can never look at it objective. And even if you tell yourself, try to look at the good or the positive from it, you just can't if you're so emotionally worked up. You really have to get someone around you who's going to tell you, think like if you played basketball in high school, it's like if you're crying on the court, the coach is going to pull you aside, hit you, and tell you like you need to get back in the game. And then after the game, they'll have like a nicer conversation. But you almost need someone like that in your, but even just personal life, because I've seen people throw away incredible opportunities because they get so personally overwhelmed. And those personal emotions create resentment, and that resentment creates really bad actions. So, I mean, practical, get a coach, you know, if you're emotionally, and this is something I learned from a coach, if you're really emotionally upset, take some time, process the emotions, try to understand, but just don't try to do anything else. Just let it process, be upset, be frustrated, be sad. Once you get through it, you have to decide, am I going to sit here and just stay, or am I going to keep going?
Yeah.
That for me worked, but I mean, failure is a part of it. I mean, every week I have some sort of failure. Either I do something wrong or I spend money in the wrong place. The sooner you get more comfortable accepting failure and learning from it, the way, like, all the responsibilities of life kind of go away because
Mhm.
you realize most things aren't as big of a deal as you might think they are.
Absolutely.
It's good.
No, I love that. Speaks to maturity and resilience. And trust me, it's any age. I think you can get emotional because when you put everything on the line to start something. It's a big deal emotionally. You live and die by these things. I know some people who, they've got 4 kids and gave up, making 6 digits a year in a comfortable life in order to start something that could potentially one day be bigger. I mean, yeah, the whole reason that you're crazy enough to start the business is because your emotions are tied up into it. So I think that's great advice for any age. I want to know from your perspective, and Russ, you can interrupt me at any time. I don't mean to steal this conversation.
I just got some popcorn. I'm enjoying this.
But yeah, popcorn, perfect for a podcast. No, but I think one of the other questions I have. Okay, so you tasted a little bit of success, right? You've turned the corner. This in theory is going to work, and in practice, it's working. Has that illuminated any other areas of your life where you go, man? And I say this to say it costs something to start anything, right? There is a cost. There's a time cost. You alluded to it. You were trying to build your own agency, and then you said, I'm going to go work for free with this other agency so I can. I mean, there's a huge cost to starting anything of your own. And so I'm curious to know on the backside of all that, what are some areas that you go, man, I really need to go back and address these parts of my life, whether it's personal, relational, spiritual, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very vulnerable. Once you get in that mindset where you're working really long days, it's really hard to get out of it. And you become very selfish with your time, and you start lying to yourself and others. A big lie that I had is, well, I'm doing this for my family. And it took someone to come into my situation and say, if you're doing this for your family, let's say you had a kid right now, what would a good father be doing? Would they be with their kid and family right now, or would they be at the office? Like, you have these resources now, but you're choosing to neglect family. And that's something that I didn't see, because it's like, well, I'm only 2 years into this. But just, you have to have the biggest thing that I did that helped me in all my relationships is I was very clear what the outcome of this situation could have been when I worked really hard in 2021, and they were all in for it. I can no longer use that excuse the following years because they knew the financial situation. So, I mean, obviously, you, without having people around you to check, will have some sort of ego, and it will be your downfall. So for me, I was really good at justifying, well, I don't need to go to the gym because I'm building this. I'm busy today. I can't go to the gym. Oh, sorry, I can't hang out with the family this weekend because I got this. And in reality, it wasn't because I was a hard worker. It was because I was a poor manager and business owner. I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't know how to build teams. And kind of after being really just grilled hard about that by someone I was working with, they just said, tomorrow you could lose everything else but the business. Would you do it? And I never pictured that way, but you have to put in time, but you also have to weigh in like your situation. Like, if you have a bunch of family, like if you're taking care of a full family, it might not make sense for you to start a business in this time. Just the reality of what it is. For me, I was a kid, I could do it, I could work all day, but at some point I had to have this reality shift where it's like, well, I can't really go and do this every single day, 7 days a week, because I'm going to lose everything else that I say I'm working for. So, the biggest things that I sacrificed was definitely health, and I'm definitely paying the price for it. It's way more expensive to lose weight than stay. Like, prior to me really working, I lost 100 pounds, I was in good shape, and I gained it back. And it's way harder now that I'm a little older. Sleep schedule's not as good. I don't have as much time, so I can't eat. So you always pay more for the things you lose and you want to get back. But, I think that's the two areas that most entrepreneurs is family. It's easy to push that aside because it's so normal. It's always there. And, you don't think that it will never not be there.
I want to know. No, I love that. I want to know. So was there a point in your business where you had a huge win, where you're like, man, I got the client, or I got the account, or can you walk us through that? I can tell there's one coming to mind. I want to know it.
I mean, there's big revenue days, but I think probably there's probably two big wins. One is kind of, it's not as cool, but it's cool for me. Is we had our kind of couple employees cross the 1 year mark, and kind of like in their one on ones, they just like they said they want to work here forever. And for me, thinking
Mm.
every day that I'm doing a bad job, that makes me feel good.
Heck
And then
yeah,
the other
man.
one
Yeah.
is we have a client that we're working with that's throwing an event, and we're running the ads for it. They're gonna have Gary Vee, David Goggins, like all the big guys. So that was a cool, like, kind of we made it moment where that those conversations are becoming more normal. But I think honestly the biggest win is those two messages I got from those team members. That was something I never thought anyone would say to me. And again, it's just maybe I'm thinking small, but just hearing someone that they feel valued, that they love what they do, and you know, they don't see all the problems that's going on. They can just see the good in it. I'm like, man, like that to me felt really good.
That's amazing, man. I love that. So I want to shift maybe more industry specific for you for some practical tips, because I think marketing is this kryptonite of a thing. It's it's the thing that will grow your business, that will grow your sphere, that will get eyeballs on your product, on your service. But for especially new business owners who are cash conscious, right? It's the last thing that they feel like they have the margin to spend on. So, can you give us some? I want your opinion on that premise, and I also want your advice. If you're speaking to me as a small business owner who is looking to obviously grow, I mean, what kind of advice do you have for me?
It's always a tough one. Small business owner, if so from a practical perspective, I think a small business should really never hire an agency. I think at that level, the cost just doesn't make sense, especially what you spend.
Because a lot of people try to sell you on that. A lot of people try to say, hey, we'll come in for $7, $10, $15,000 a month. We'll give you this service. That's the best of the best. It's what the Ryan Pinedas of the world do. It's what the Chris Crones of the world do. This is everything everybody that you want to be does, and just hire us. And you're saying don't do that.
Right, because it's the context. Take like a business like Chris Crone or Ryan Pineda, they have 20,000 a day to spend on ads, so they can take the efficiency of having an agency and do it. But if you only have like 500 a month to spend on ads, really you're not going to go very far. Results will take a lot longer. So when you pay an agency, that bill is just going to keep stacking while you're waiting for results. When in reality, I think the best way for any business to get the more business, the cheapest way is just cold call. Get someone in there, pay them commission, because at the end of the day, people, especially humans, make decisions with other humans, especially big purchases, cars, real estate, whatever. There's a reason why cold calling for real estate is so effective. People are not going to sign their house to a robot. It has to be with a person. So if you're a small business, anything people focus will do it. If you have an ice cream shop, get someone to take samples to the park every single day. Like some sort of human connection is the only way that's going to do it. And then once you get to the point, because once you start running ads, you still have to make a human connection. It doesn't go away. It actually just makes the problem bigger because you have to do it at scale. So we run ads for all these companies. We have full-time people on the phones because we don't just sell them a product. They have to talk to someone. People need to speak to humans. So like if you're a small business owner, go find some like really hungry kid, give him like a really fair commission split on everything he sells for you. Just let him cold call, door knock, whatever. You're going to sell way more, especially in your local community. People are going to know who you are because you're actually putting your name out there. If you're a restaurant or like I said, an ice cream shop or a pizza shop, go take samples to like all these big events for free. It's going to cost you like nothing. It's going to cost you some time, but if people really like it, they're going to go back. So, I would just always lean on, if you don't have the bandwidth to run ads, don't try it. Just focus on the things that we know get results. Cold calling and door knocking has been around for hundreds of years. So I would always lean into that.
I love that. I want to talk about. Right. No, and I appreciate that because I was going to hire you, and now I'm not. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I love that, and I think it puts it into perspective. I also think you have this tension right now where you have an opportunity for small business owners to. How about this? It's never been easier to and your audience has never been more accessible through the opportunities we have right now through social, right? You can right now, I mean, you can hold up your phone, record a 30-second video, and there is a chance that you could get 1 million eyeballs on it. I mean, it is rare, but I mean, you do that consistently enough, this is what's happening in the world today. Now, do you recommend that every small business owner would have a strong social media presence in this day and age? And even if they're super local, you've been describing the pizza shop and the ice cream parlor. I mean, I think that those are good examples. Mom and pop shops, craft stores, things like that. Do you find it beneficial for those people to implement some sort, like spend their time making videos or TikToks or things like that?
100%. But I think there's a caveat associated with it, and it's something that we face internally. Do it, but measure at what cost for you to do it consistently. For you to do this every single day, and it's going to pull you out of functions in the business where you needed, I won't recommend it. But I think every business should at some point work towards that. For us, like, I don't make content every day, and I should, and I lose money every day the days that I don't. But I just know personally that I can't be consistent with it right now. So I think you just have to be honest, because let's say you do get 1 million eyeballs and you don't keep the momentum going, you lose it. So, you know, to answer your question, yes, I think everyone should, but I think everyone should also not put an insane amount of pressure on themselves, which holds them back from starting. Anything out there is going to work, but, you know, if you're like struggling to pay the bills, like I said, make your pizza, go to the parks, like just do that. Have your family member come film you doing it, and then you knock 2 birds out with stone. But like for Ryan Pineda or Chris Cronin, any of those guys, I mean, even just obviously the coaching side, which is the education, but as far as like a real estate side, we've been able to raise funds to buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate. And you hear this joke that like, oh, Facebook's only for old people or for like weird people who are not really like, or like wealthy people on LinkedIn, but we've raised hundreds of millions of dollars on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. So like if that is your business, especially in real estate, you 100% have to be on social media. Like there's no exceptions. But
does he know your story?
I don't know. Andrew, just to give you a quick background, I'm not sure if Russ gave you any on me. No, I'm kidding. But so I'm in real estate. I'm a realtor. We have a team, and we have a renovation business, and we're trying to grow that side. So really the Pineda model is what we have kind of tried to interpret as our own just to get started. And so that's kind of where we are. And the only reason I had any success my first year was being on social and posting one. At first it was, 2 videos a week, and then to start to get traction, then I'd post, try every weekday at least, and the quality got better and better and better, and is pretty good now. Lydia helps me. She's here at church. She films my content. We're starting a YouTube channel, all that. But no, that's why it's been interesting just to hear your perspective on how to sell yourself in some way and the importance of it.
And Kevin, or Andrew, I sent you Kevin's IG. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out, but yeah, there's a.
He's about to say some.
Okay.
No, I was saying you're about to act like I have some sort of more famous profile than I do.
No, but I mean, it's all comparative. It's all relative. But there was one that went crazy, I guess, last year, and right now it's about 60,000 on IG.
60,000 followers. Yeah, it's just like the power of one viral video. This one video's gotten like 20 million views or something like that. But I'm running into the same issue that you're talking about, which is like you get the views, and then the first time that video went viral, I go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It went viral. I'm getting all this inbound, from all over the country. And then I'm like, I have zero processes to follow up with these people. I don't have the infrastructure to turn any of this into a sale or into a client. And so what do I do, and that has been the whole journey, going forward. So now we've got one person on our team who the process for me has become offloading all of the other duties, right? Setting up utilities at properties, even realtor duties. Like how can we build a team that it's a great opportunity for them to list a property, take a buyer through a home, all these things, but how can we create bandwidth within our ecosystem so that when something good does happen, we can capitalize or have a next step or something like that. So it was very interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, in that perspective, what I would end up doing is, especially the DMs, there's a tool we use for all accounts called Mini Chat. It's way cheaper than it should be. But what it does is, I don't know if you've ever seen people say, hey, DM me this word, and I'll send you this. That's the tool that supplies that. But what's also cool with Mini Chat is, and what's super helpful, is it has kind of like a live chat agent box. So you can have multiple people on your Instagram account with actually being on the Instagram account. So we would just load people up and have reps sit on the Instagram and talk to people all day, and then
I
set
love that.
appointments. You can outsource it to other countries where it's way cheaper, and just literally just set appointments that way. It's because even if you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 followers, if you post something good consistently, you're going to get someone who has a level of interest, who's going to find that post. And if the faster you can communicate with them, the faster the deal will close. So that's what we did. We would just have full-time guys just sit on the DMs. We did it in 3 shifts, 3 8-hour shifts. We did 8 a.m. to 8 to 4, 4 to 12, 12 to 8. And that way we had 24-hour coverage.
It's amazing. No, I love that. I think I'm interested to hear your perspective on this too for businesses that are marketing, right? And they're maybe have taken the approach of, I'm just going to slap as much stuff out there as I can and see what sticks. What's your message to them? Like, do you feel like people have to have a clear and concise message as to what they're driving their potential consumer to do? I mean, how do you I don't know, I guess my question would be, what's your philosophy on creating a narrative when marketing?
So I'm definitely lean more on throw whatever out and throw anything out there and see what sticks. But my big thing is, still focusing on one thing at a time. So like, if you have one business, throw 10 topics around about that business, and then that way you can build service delivery. So if something does stick, you can fulfill it. There's nothing worse than, when people do is they throw new ideas out there for companies to see if it sticks, and then if it does stick, they have no plan to build a company. So like, if you're running a business, like for us as the agency, we really only focus on ads and websites. What we throw out there on, like when we run ads, we'll run a bunch of different topics, and if something sticks, we have the systems in place where I can just triple the ad spend, and then we could take the calls. Whereas if we did it for a different service line, which I see a lot of new agency owners or business owners do, it's like, oh, let me just offer this, everything breaks. So I'm very, my big thing is we live in an ADHD world now. You have to change up your strategy almost every month now. So you just put a bunch of stuff out there. If it sticks, ride the wave, and then just keep trying to find the next wave. And unfortunately, I just think that's how it works nowadays, just with TikTok and Reels and the way our mind works. We've literally had ads that just stopped working, and we put like the little Subway Surfer video under it, and it just crushed. It's so stupid that it worked. But just like little stuff like that worked. Or even on some ads, we changed the background at gold from green, and it just hits. So, you always want to just, if you have a winner, iterate off the winner. If you don't have any winners, just put a million things out.
I love that. Now, I want you to talk to our man Russ over here, because he's an author, right? And he writes these amazing books. And he takes a lot of this marketing stuff on it himself, and I think it's because he's very humble. But I want you to give him 5 minutes of advice on, he is a individual writing this novel. It's fantastic. If the next one's anything like the first one, it'll be really wonderful. And so, what should he do? He's one person, solopreneur, writing this novel. How does he get it in the hands of people who are going to read it with all of the options that are out there today?
Yeah, Russ, you're definitely a little too humble. Russ is probably one of the best writers I know. And especially working in this marketing space, I've met some of like these really big copywriters. Russ's word choice, and it's the way you can break like a really complex topic down into an understandable way is a skill that most people don't have. And I think it's a skill that you don't utilize as much. I would recommend to you is you obviously have a lot of equipment around you. You need to be posting shorts, like short 1-minute videos. Because what you can do, I mean, you've literally preached to old people, you've preached to young people, so you know how to take a big message and make it adaptable for multiple crowds. But all these big topics, break them down into a way someone can understand it, because most people can't do that. Most people could speak on the surface level, but like the real knowledge happens. Like if you look at guys like Alex Hormozy, I assume you guys have probably seen him. The reason why he's so popular is because he takes these big ideas and makes them small. And that's something that you possess as well. It's like with your book, you could literally just take chapters from that and talk about it. But I mean, you've done a lot outside of the church too. I've seen you when you went from eating frozen pizzas to getting like buff and a 6-pack. Like all those little things talking about on your social media would definitely be helpful. But I mean, I've worked with copiers and make $3 million a year. And your stuff literally runs laps around them. So I would lean into that a lot more, because there's no reason why you shouldn't have like a few 100,000. And people in your space that have more followers than you, that your content's way better. I think you just gotta.
Just saying, Russ.
Well, very kind, and I appreciate that. And I'm just gonna get really cocky.
You might just get really forward with everything.
No, that's good. I struggle with that balance, so that's a good challenge for me.
You have so many gifts to bring to the world, Russ. You need to give it to the world. Just do it, man.
Okay, you know what? I'm challenged. I'm gonna.
So why don't we hop back on with Andrew in a couple months? When I mean, we don't need to release any dates here, but I mean, if it was a couple months, let's hop back on with him. We're gonna do a part 2 with you, Andrew. And I'm selfishly scheduling this right now because I want to be back on the podcast. So now they have to invite me back, and we'll maybe discuss some of the things live on the podcast. Maybe we can get you up here, Andrew. We can take a road trip down to you. We'll do these things in person, and keep you as maybe one of our recurring guests on the show, because I really appreciate the way that you've really impressed, and you seem like you're just so mature, man, and your view on things, and God's definitely using you. And as the influence grows and as the team grows, I mean, and I know you already know this, but God's giving you opportunities to influence people on the micro, and to set your family up and to change people's lives. And so congratulations. And it's a huge responsibility. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And you've got a fan in me. And I'm really just saying all this so that you give me free marketing advice. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm joking. But I really do appreciate you, man, and everything that you brought to this conversation. I think it's really going to help a lot of people.
Yeah. Andrew, you down for that? Part 2?
Yeah, just let me know when. I'll come up there. I'll fly up.
Well, in closing, a few things. Number one, this has been a whole lot of fun for me, just to facilitate and watch y'all run and just play. And I've learned a lot. I'm inspired. I'm now challenged. So thank you, Kevin and Andrew. Also, thank you for your patience with our technical difficulties. We obviously don't Zoom anymore. I am thankful for Zoom and also have PTSD. Also, this may sound odd to say, but as your longtime former youth pastor, Andrew, I'm so proud of you. And it's been amazing to watch your journey. I got 1,000 questions I want to ask you next time, too, about the collective spaces that both of you, the attributes that you see in the people that are inspiring you and some of the things you're learning from those spaces and those people and work ethic. You got a tattoo on your arm. The first tattoo you got that says, work harder. That is an important attribute to you. I want to talk about that next time. But anyways, just thought it'd be fun. We may do a little mini entrepreneur series over the summer and have Kevin help lead and run with all of that. But hopefully today. And I know a little bit different format, but hopefully it's been entertaining, encouraging, inspiring to you. Our goals of this podcast to try to add value in a lot of different ways, a lot of different spaces. And so hopefully this is something maybe you can share around and go back to and learn from. But wherever you're watching from, listening from, hope that you have an incredible week. And until next time, we'll see you then.